Welcome back, everyone. Mate Talk time. Good to be before you all. Cheers, or as they say in Australia, cheers, big ears. I have my mate. I'm hoping you guys have a nice drink before you. Have a look at this before I go any further. It brings the different facets of masculinity, because as a man you can be, you can be strong, and but you can also be sensitive, and you can also be sensitive to other. Look, I don't know, I'm not going to get into the psychology of it, but the bottom line is that I do feel confident wearing a floral fragrance. So where was I going with this? I know where I was going. I was going into the psychology of smelling, the psychology of scent, and how it affects our moods, our brain, all these components. However, in my head, in my brain, I'm separated into two individuals. One talky talk guy who's sharing all this stuff, and then the other guy who's monitoring and controlling the dialogue and going, yep, good, yeah, that's good. And then all of a sudden I went rogue and started going down this path. And so that guy with his clipboard in my brain said, whoa, stop. We don't want to go there. Keep it light and airy, baby. So backtrack. And so you can see it in my face that I started to what am I doing? And then I just sort of regrouped myself mentally and kept moving forward. I had two subscribers, Max and Fred. Thank you, gents. I appreciate you guys writing in. And both of them said, you know what? Talk about this, man. Let's explore where you were going with this particular direction. So today, psychology of scent. This is what I've been prepping for today, and I would like to share a little bit more, because this is something that I feel very strongly about. It's funny that if you have sight problems, you'll go to an optometrist. If you've got some kind of ear problems, you'll go to an ear doctor. I don't know what they call their scientific name. But I know there's one because my wife went to one. She had some issues with her ears, and so she went to an ear doctor. But do we go to a smell doctor? I've never heard of a smell doctor. I know that there is a medical condition called anosmia, and that's where you don't smell at all. I mean, you can't smell or taste. Interesting, these individuals, and they did some studies on them, that they have high levels of depression, and they also feel socially removed. So it's interesting how smell can actually affect us in such a severe way. I'm a testament to this, so I know this firsthand. I don't have anosmia, but I did lose my sense of smell and taste. I got COVID back in December, and I had that Delta variant. Hit me pretty hard. I had the opportunity to, well, not the opportunity, I had I guess the advantage of being able to isolate here. I didn't want to give it to the rest of my family. And so I woke up, so I was here in the office. I've got a space where I can sleep here. And I woke up one morning and instantly I knew that I had lost my sense of smell. And I don't know what it was. I think back, I remember lying in bed and into my brain went, I can't smell. And I quickly got up and I went and I grabbed this perfume here, because I've got quite a few perfumes here in the office. For those who don't know, this is Amouage Interlude Man. Probably the punchiest beast mode fragrance out there. You can smell this even with a mask on. Sprayed it and I couldn't smell a thing. And now that's like getting hit on the head with a baseball bat and not feeling it, all right? That's how potent this baby is. And that was, I mean, apart from the fact that, yes, my brain went, oh no, what's gonna happen with the channel now? Freak out. My life went gray. All of a sudden my sense, because obviously you lose your sense of smell, you lose your sense of taste. And so all of a sudden everything was just gray to me. Not black and white. Black and white, you still have texture. You have that light, and you have also I guess the texture of the darkness, the blacks. Gray is boring. Gray it's just gray. And so that's what, for 10 days I had it. And that was really, I knew that, well, I had a feeling it was gonna go, because I mean, funny. Don't, the first thing, the moment you get a saw something, you're like, oh, don't Google that. Because Google was, yeah, you got cancer. Cancer in the elbow, man. So I Googled it, and 12 months that I was gonna lose my sense of smell and taste. I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck? But 10 days, it was 10 days, and I was back, which was pretty cool. So where was I going with this last week? The power of smell, and how the power of smell can help generates like a mood. It can help project who we are for other people to also recognize this. What I want to share with you is some studies that were done with the power of smell. But before I want to qualify where I'm getting this information from. There's an awesome magazine called Nez, which I subscribe to. They're an industry magazine. It's not a glossy magazine, so it does talk about new fragrances coming out, but it's more on a scientific level. It talks about molecules, also talks about awesome perfumers that are out there. Anyway, it's an industry magazine, but it's fantastic for the different articles that it have, all relating to perfume, smell, and I guess, you know, the science behind it. I'm going to put a link below so you know what I'm about to share, where I'm getting this information from, or which articles that I read. Number one is, and I guess the question is, at what stage do we start smelling? And again, I go back to, we put a lot of emphasis on sight and hearing, but how much emphasis do we put on smelling? And at what stage do we actually recognize that smell is a part of our life? It's at 28 weeks. So they did a study back in 1998. They wanted to find out, when does the actual, I guess, is it fetus? Yeah, I think it's called a fetus. Is inside the actual womb, or the child inside the womb, there you go. At what stage does that actually begin to respond to olfactory impulses or olfactory stimuli? And it was 28 weeks, so it would respond to things that repulsed it to this child, and also things that it was excited by. So so 28 weeks we begin to smell. Now we also have to understand that we are inside in the womb. Obviously we're inside the amniotic fluid. This amniotic fluid becomes the olfactory signature of that child when that child is born. And they did further studies with babies, and they actually put amniotic fluid that belonged to the child and an amniotic fluid that was from someone else. And to see, this is like 2 or 3 day newborns, and to see which would the child identify what was theirs, essentially. And actually it was more to see, was this child's olfactory system alert enough to detect these different smells? And it did. It actually would go to its own amniotic fluid. It actually recognized it from its own olfactory signature. Study was even done further with the parents now. They smelt also these 2 different amniotic fluids, one belonging to their child and none to just a random child. And they would also, the parents would also be able to detect their own child through the smell, through that amniotic fluid smell. I like that I put it on my hand. I don't think they put it on their hand, like a fragrance. I think, scent of newborn. But through it, basically this olfactory signature that belonged to the child because of this fluid. They did another study too, which was now about, so you have to, and this is where I was going last week. It's that power that smell has to change your mood, to heighten, I guess, an experience. All of it is linked to the limbic system and in your brain. So actually this is wild. So the only thing that touches our brain is through the sense of smell. So those molecules travel through our nasal passage. It actually brushes our brain, hits the limbic system, which then sends a signal to the amygdala and the hippocampus. And it's both the amygdala and the hippocampus where memory and emotions are stored. So hence why you'll smell something and you're like, oh wow, all of a sudden you'll be like transported to a place, to a time, to a memory of something, your family, your mother, or something will take you back through that sense of smell. So there's a company called IFF, which is International Flavors and Fragrances, based in the US, and in 1982 they did a study to say they recognized that smell and emotions were linked, so they wanted to map this out, and they wanted to find out what smells derive different emotions. Anyway, they did this study. They then were able to map out smells that makes us happy as human. Lancome came to them and said to them, we want you to create the scent of happiness. And because IFF also have a number of perfumers in their stable. They create perfumes for the industry. And by using this mapping system, they were able to create La Vie est Belle, and well, the rest is history. I mean, I think there are like 15 variations on La Vie est Belle. So La Vie est très belle for Lancôme, because of, yeah, there was such a success. But that was then attributed to this mapping system that was established way back. So, in summary, my fellow colleagues or my learned friends, excuse me while I drink. Perfume, smell, there's enormous power. And that's, again, going back to last week's direction that I was going, that don't underestimate. And I think the key point for me, and I always say this too, that perfume is the one, what's the word that I use? It's the one, oh my gosh, my brain went south then. Perfume is the one, I wrote it down, adornment. So it's the one thing that we put on our body that is silent and secret about us. So unlike, I don't know, wearing something cool, glasses, hat, boom, 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 where you can see that individual and you get an idea of what they are, who they are, smell is that one mystery of that individual that all of a sudden we're like, you want to know more. You smell something. I mean, there's a cool story of there's a fragrance called Pas Ce Soir, and David Benedict, who is the perfumer, he says that he created that fragrance on a chance encounter in the French subway. He said that he was walking towards a woman, they caught eyes, and that she whisked past him, and what stayed with him, apart from the fact, well, she was a pretty woman, what stayed with him was a mixture of her floral fragrance and some kind of pastry, some kind of sweetness, some vanillas in there. And that birthed in his mind the fragrance Pas Ce Soir. And it is, if you smell it, it's this beautiful floral with sort of vanilla caramel tones to it. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. So fragrance, smelling, perfume, there's enormous power in this. Now, what am I wearing today? I'm wearing this awesome fragrance, Meo Fruscioni's Luce. I've been wearing it today. This was my anchoring fragrance, so I wanted something to give me a little bit of sort of quiet confidence. I'd find that wood fragrances, earthy fragrances, these kind of sort of deeper tones, they just still my mind. They allow me to focus. They also give me a sense of reassurance, and it's a great fragrance to say, yeah, you got this, baby. I am going to be talking about this guy here, so I've just given you a quick overview on Luce, but this week I'm actually going to be dedicating some more time to this fragrance. And also another one, so this is, I feel that this is a little bit more masculine leaning. Meo has another one called, or a new one that he's released called Encore de Ton. I love the way that Meo says it. And that's a little bit more, it's actually, I say a little bit more female leaning because my wife loves wearing it. So this week I'm going to be talking about Luce and Encore de Ton. There it is, everyone. That's my scientific report on all things why smelling is such an important thing in our life, and something that, yeah, don't take for granted. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you guys all on the next Maté Talk.